Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amrutangamaya Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om. O Lord, please lead us from unreality to the reality, from ignorance to the knowledge, and from mortality to the immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Dear devotees, today is the third class on Drik, Drishya, Viveka, an inquiry into the seer and the seen. So the first four verses we have seen. So now we'll be going to the fifth verse. No deeti nasti nastam iti esha na vruddhim yatina kshayam swayam vibhatya yani bhasatye sadhanam vina. The running meaning goes like this. This consciousness does neither rise nor sets. It does not increase, nor does it suffer the decay. Being self luminous, it illumines everything else without any other aid. So, this is the nature or the complete description of the seer 3. Now, you should not ask me, what is the seer 3, Swamiji? If you ask, then definitely I will be in the great trouble. The seer 1 is sense organs, the seen 1 is sense objects. Then the seer 2, mind, seen 2 becomes the sense organs. Then the seer 3 is self or Chaitanya, Sakshi, as it is called in this particular work. Then the seen will become the mind. So the seer number 3 is nothing but the consciousness or Sakshi or Chaitanya, that is witness. So what is the nature of seer 3 has been explained beautifully in this verse. Or still more, in a layman's language, if you want me to say, it is one's own biodata. When we say that biodata, we say, oh, we give our educational qualification, from where we have come, or from which country, I belong to which ethnicity, and what all the accomplishments I have done. All paraphernalia we give in our biodata. That is all external biodata. But the real biodata is what is seen in this fifth verse. So according to the author, he's telling that what is consciousness? Consciousness is witness and is the witness of all the changes. He said consciousness is the witness of all the changes. So what are all the changes? If you remember my Tattvabodha classes, you'll be able to remember. There are Shad Bhava Vikaras, 6 modifications which undergoes our physical body. What is that? First is Asti, existence. Then the second is Jayate, birth. There's something exists, fine. Then birth, I take birth, or every one of us, every being, we take birth, Jayate, Vardhate. 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, 10 year, 20 years. So there is a growth, constant growth in every being. Vardhate, third modification. The fourth modification is Viparinamate, change. 10 years before, how I was looking, and now I am, it is completely different. Or there is a lot of change in my physical outlook, isn't it? Or after 20, 30 years, if I see my own picture, or when you see your own picture, you'll see, oh, 20 or 30 years before I was like this, okay. So viparinamate, change. Then apakshiyate, till middle age, between 40 and 50, till there is a growth. Change and growth is constant, no doubt. But after 50 or 60, slowly decay starts. Oh, my eyesight is getting problem. I am not able to hear properly. I'm getting arthritis. I'm getting leg pain. Or I'm getting a back pain. I'm not able to walk like earlier. I'm not able to work like earlier. Slowly, our body parts functioning gets decreased. So decay, apakshiyate. Then one fine day, just like every product has got expiry date, even this body has got expiry date. That is called death. That is vinashyati. So six modifications every physical body of the bird or animal of every being has to undergo. So when the author says consciousness is the witness of all these changes, means it is the witness of all these six changes. And by this, what happens? By this, we'll be able to deduce very important idea or very important conclusion is consciousness is not limited by time. Very important thing for us. Though it is not told explicitly straight away, but when we understand this particular idea, consciousness is the witness of all these changes, that means consciousness is not limited by time. I am limited by time. Shantivratananda is limited by time. 50 years before, Shantivratananda was not there. After 20, 30 years afterwards, Shantivratananda may be there, may not be there. After 50 years, certainly he will not be there. So, time bound. Shantivratananda is bound by time. Like when I am there at 5:30 a.m. in Air Vedanta Society, I cannot be at the same time in some other place. So I am bound by time. This physical body is bound by time. 2 dimension, 3 dimension, science speaks. So now consciousness doesn't have any dimension at all. It is free. It is not bound by time causation. Now afterwards we'll see space also. Why? It has no birth, it has no death. If you see the star called like sun, every day we see it and we get a lot of energy. The whole our solar system is getting energy from the sun. We know that. But sun also, some millions of years before it came into existence. Now, after millions of years, it has to explode. Either it undergoes change, either it will have a nova or supernova. So there is a life cycle of star also. Sun is also a star. There is a life cycle of star which undergoes changes. So it has got a birth and it has got a death. Moon, you say, planets, you say, galaxy system, you say, it has got a birth at some point of time. It can explode and it ceases to exist. Millions of years maybe, but still it has got birth and death. But whereas the consciousness, it is free from birth and death. That is the beauty. And it is free from creation, free from growth, free from destruction also. Now, the solar system or Milky Way galaxy has been created. So it has been expanding or it has been condensing or contracting, and sometimes it will destroy, it gets destroyed. So creation, growth or expansion, and the destruction, all these things are free. The soul or the consciousness is free from this. Whereas the solar system and the galaxies, stars, planets, including we or the things are bound by time. So that is the nature. So when I say I am self, I am that consciousness, I am the witness is, that is why it's called Brahman. Brahman, Burhati. It is wide. Nothing can be wider than that. It is the biggest thing. It is the widest thing. Growth, it is the largest thing. And if you see here, one more very important thing is they're saying consciousness is the center of the universe. We are consciousness. From consciousness, everything has been emerged. Whereas if you see the science, from the matter life has been emerged, they are saying from consciousness, from sentient, insentient things has been emerged. That's what the spiritual science or spirituality is telling. This is the fundamental difference between science and the spirituality. They say that the life also has come from the matter. We say that matter has come from the life or from consciousness. This is the very important difference, fundamental difference between science and spirituality. Now, you may say now, okay, now because the biology speaks, Darwin has spoken and the biology speaks, at some point of time, origination of life has started. Animals, birds, plants, everything came into existence. Like we are called so Homo sapiens. Okay, our origination based on carbon dating or whatnot. So like millions of 1 million year before or 5 million year before, 10 million year before it has been started. So there is origination of life according to the science. It has been proved today Swami, how can you say that I am free from time? I am not bound by time. I am not created and no maintenance and no destruction also. How can you say? If you ask, Vedanta smiles and he says that whatever you are saying, the origination of life, that is nothing but Chidabhasa. This is a very important technical concept or a very technical idea we have to understand. What is this Chidabhasa? Chidabhasa means it is a reflected consciousness. Oh, Shantivratananda is living. Shantivratananda is doing something. Shantivratananda is growing. Shantivratananda is doing something, blah, blah, blah. And Shantivratananda died. When Shantivratananda died, what happens? Soul departs. Self departs. It departs to new body or whatever. No, it doesn't happen actually. If the self is departing from one body to another, that means it is not all pervading. It is limited by time and space automatically. Then what departs? Departs is reflecting medium called subtle body and causal body. It leaves the physical body and it exits the physical body and it reaches the mother's womb and again it enters the new physical body. So so soul doesn't depart, soul doesn't travel, self doesn't depart and from the dead body. That's why it's called dead. No, only the reflecting medium called the subtle body and causal body, transfers. Or it exists from one body that is called death, and it enters the other body that is called birth, existence and birth. So death is what? Death means when the subtle body and causal body exits from the physical body, that is what we mean by death. Fine. So reflected consciousness, when we say origination of life is nothing but we speak Chidabhasa. Chidabhasa means reflected consciousness. So when I say Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi, I am Brahman, you are that Brahman, that is virginal consciousness, which doesn't undergo any change at all. It is OCR, virginal consciousness. When that virginal consciousness is reflected upon, called reflecting medium, called subtle body and causal body, whatever the ego or whatever the embodied ego, embodied self we say, Jivatma we say, that is what Chidabhasa. So Jivatma took birth at some point of time, Jivatma died at some point of time. Jivatma got created at some point of time, Jivatma got extinct at some point of time. Yes, that is origination of life, whatever the science speaks. That is what Chidabhasa. In simple sentence, it is reflected consciousness. Why? Because consciousness exists before birth, consciousness survives after death. Now, Shantivrata, as a Shantivratananda, after death, Shantivratananda cannot exist. Why? Because he has died. Whereas as a soul, if Shantivratananda is referring to the self at all, if so, self survived before Shantivratananda's birth. After Shantivratananda's death, he survived. So that's why consciousness is separate. Origination life, whatever the science speaks, it is nothing but reflected consciousness. And this idea has been beautifully discussed in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, I think in the third chapter, in the third mandala and the eighth verse, I think. So it has been very beautifully discussed. Now, again, consciousness, it doesn't undergo any change. Already I know that. That means what? It doesn't bound by space also. One is, it is not bound by time, it is not bound by space also now. Why? Because when I was probably 20 years before, I was thin. Now I have become fat. I put up my weight. After 20 years, I may go thin or I may put more weight. So there is a physical change. I mean, the voluminous change is there. So in everything, even the whole universe is sometimes it is expanding or sometimes it is compressing. Compression is happening. But whereas in the soul, it never compresses, it never expands. That means what? It doesn't have any, it is not a matter, it is not an object, it is a subject, and it is not bound by space also. So it is free from time and space causation. It is beyond time and space causation. That is a very beautiful and very wonderful, magnanimous idea which gives Advaita Vedanta. The moment we understand, the moment we experience, we understand that we are eternally free. I am not bound by time. I am not bound by space. I am not bound by creation. I am not bound by maintenance or sustenance. I am not bound by destruction. Oh, tomorrow tsunami comes and the whole world gets destroyed. Like Nostradamus has said in 2024, there's a great pralaya, great destruction, and the whole world gets merged in the water. It seems everyone dies. Oh my God, what to do now? In 2024, we are all going to perish. What to do? Okay, then let me enjoy this life in this 1 year, whatever is possible. Let me enjoy. Some people feel. Some people start praying, oh God, please let it not so happen, at least till my death or till my fragment of my life. I want to enjoy my life. I want to go to that US. I want to see that, or I want to see six wonders of the world, or I want to go see in Victoria Falls, Niagara Falls. I've got some desires. Till finishing, fulfilling my desires, let the word not let the word doesn't come to end. Such type of notions we all get: fear or phobia, abhinivesha. Why? Because we feel we are body and mind. The moment I understand I am self, I am neither the body, nor the mind, nor the senses, and I am not bound by time and space. I am eternally free. I am a witness of all these changes. Then no birth, no death, no creation, no destruction, no pralaya, nothing will shake me. That's why it is. By studying Advaita, what happens? You will travel from what to so what. What? It does happen like this. Then someone says, is it? So what? Means it is not a insensitivity, but you are not perturbed, you are not changed, you are not moved by the external modifications. That's what we can see in the life of Sri Ramakrishna. Ramakrishna had a throat cancer. He had so much pain, he was unable to take food. If we would have been morose, we would have, I mean, what you say, cursed God, we would have cursed people or whatnot, but he was always happy. He was just reduced into just, skin and bone. But still, he was with always smiling face. He never complained. He never grieved. He never cried. He never lamented. He was happy. Always he was busy in helping the people, even at that juncture. Doctors had said, you should not speak, Swami. Otherwise, the cancer will aggravate. But he said, anyway, this body is going to fall at some point of time. Let me serve the humankind. So out of compassion it came, not out of weakness. Why? Because they were the experience, they knew that who are they in reality. You can see in the life of Ramana Maharshi, we can see in the life of Adbhutanandji, we can see in the life of Swami Turiyanandji. All these people, we can see very clearly, because why? They had a very clear notion, experience, knowledge, self-knowledge, that we are self, not the body and mind. So consciousness is not limited by space, not time. So it is neither compressed nor it is expanded. It is neither created nor destroyed. It doesn't have any dimension at all. So it is not the matter, it is not the object, it is the subject, it is awareness, and it is consciousness. It is an independent entity. It doesn't depend on anything for its existence. Now I depend on so many people for my existence. Like every one of us, someone may be the president of a country, someone may be the prime minister of a country, someone is the top one. Someone may be a Nobel laureate, or someone is the top industrialist in the world, but still she has to depend on many things, on many people. So we're all dependent people as a human being, as an embodied soul. But when it comes to self, I am not dependent on anything, because I am the independent entity. And one more thing the author has said very clearly: conscious is the self luminous. Self luminous, what do you mean by? Like, for example, you see 60 candle bulb, 80 candle or 100 candles bulb. Of course, now so many things has become, with the 5 watts itself, you get a lot of light. So then self-luminous means what? So self means, so it has got 100 watts bulb, like it has got so much brightness, or 1000 watts, so much focus light, like it has got 1000 watts and so much light. Here, self-luminous means it can understand anything and everything. It is the knower of everything. It is the experiencer of everything. So when the Advaita Vedanta or the author is saying conscious is self-luminous, means conscious is the knower, conscious is the experiencer. That's what we mean. For example, conscious is the witness of all the changes. I was aware of the change when I was small. I was aware that I was small boy. I was aware that I was adolescent. I am aware that I am young. I am aware that I am middle-aged, and I am aware that I am old now. That awareness, all the changes, I am aware. That is what we mean. Conscious is self luminous. That's why consciousness, self luminous, consciousness exists all the time, even during the sleep. This comes very, very important thing. Otherwise, what happens in the sleep? Your body takes rest. Mechanical actions will be running like breathing and blood circulation and other things, but consciously, I will not do any activity. Now, to raise my hand, I have to do consciously something, and I have to do something, isn't it? But, but when I'm sleeping, I need not to do anything consciously. I'm just resting. But since consciousness exists, that's why when I get up, I'll be able to tell that I had a good sleep. Imagine if consciousness would not have been even the sleep, then I would not be able to say that I had a good sleep. Why? Because I am not able to see someone say that he or she had a good sleep. No. Everyone can tell only themselves about their sleep, isn't it? More or less. Of course, if you have observed someone for 1 hour, is not shaking his body much and is just resting, then by seeing the externally, we can say that he or she had a good sleep. But really, whether he had a dreamy sleep, or real sleep, or just he or she was acting, we don't know. Only individual can say that. And this is what very important thing. The world is a not sentient, but the self is sentient. Though world, I mean, we feel that the world is so, vibrant. This body is so vibrant. The mind is so vibrant. And today neuroscience is telling the capacity of the brain, it has got 100 billion neurons, and 1 billion, one neuron capacity is 10,000 kilobytes and whatnot. Then how can you say, Swami, that only self is vibrant or self is sentient, all other insentient? That idea, how it is, why it is, has been explained in the next verse. Let us understand whether the mind is really vibrant, whether mind is really, the knower, or whether mind is really active, whether mind is really sentient or insentient. We will try to understand in the sixth verse. Let us move to it. Chichaya चिच्चाय अवेशतः बुद्धौ भानं दीहि तु विदास्थित एकम अहम कृतिः अन्या स्यात् अतः कारण रूपाणि. So the chichaya is what? Nothing but reflection of consciousness. Chaya is reflection. The chit. Chit means here, chit means it is consciousness. Chit chaya, the sandhi becomes chit chaya, reflection of consciousness. So, aveshata, on account of entering into the body, what happens? Buddha, in the intelligence, bhanam, appearance, dihi, intelligence, and sthita, etc., egoity, ahamkruti means egoity, all other things appears that they are all vibrant, they are all active, and whatnot. In the running meaning, if you want me to say, intelligence appears to possess luminosity on account of the reflection of consciousness in it. Intelligence is of two kinds, very important here. One is designated egoity, aham krutihi, the other as mind, antakarna. These are the technical things which we will see now. So here they are telling very clearly. Probably I will explain one or two simple things, then I will go to the details. Then you'll be able to understand. Today is a full moon day, for an example. We had a moonlight dinner. We had been to the field. There is no light except moonlight. There is no artificial lights, I used to say. There's only moonlight, and we are enjoying the moonlight dinner. Of course, for a brahmachari and for a monk, sannyasin, moonlight is prohibited. People can enjoy the moonlight, no doubt, but a brahmachari, a celibate, and the monk, both are not supposed to expose more to the moonlight, and they're not supposed to enjoy the moonlight as per the scriptures. Why? Because that can bring the lustful thoughts. So we go to moonlight dinner, we are enjoying, and we are seeing the moon, and we are enjoying. If I am a poet or a person who is the poet, he would have written a beautiful poem by seeing the moon. How beautiful moonlight, we all say. Yes. Now, if someone asks, or a small boy or a kid asks, oh, we are getting this moonlight fine. From where we are getting this moonlight? As an innocence, a child asks, we say, it is coming from moon. Fine. How does the moon gives that light? How does the moon gives the light? Now, whoever studied the science, physical science, we know that moon doesn't have independent luminosity or It is not a self-luminous. It borrows the luminosity from the sun. So sun is producing or sun is supplying the energy. So moon is borrowing that energy and it is lighting. And the world is getting lighted. Our world is getting illumined by the moonlight. World is getting illumined by the moonlight and moon is getting illumined by the sun. So now sun is the self, moon is the mind, and the world is what sense objects, you can understand, more or less. So just like the world is getting illumined in the moonlight, at least to few things I can, if my eyes are, I have a good eyesight, we can see things. So the whole world has been lit, illumined. How? By moon. How the moon is illumined? It is by sun. Now, if you ask Vedantin, how the sun is illumined? It is by self, it is by Atman, it is by Brahman, they say. We will not go to that extent, at least. Sun is self-luminous. From sun, moon is illumined, and from moon, the world is illumined. So similarly, the author tries to tell here, from the self, your mind is getting illumined. Mind or intelligent or your ego or your smriti, memory, that is getting, illumined, and you feel that mind is ever active. Intelligence is ever active, or it is independently active. That's what we feel, or that's a wrong notion, or it is a wrong understanding. Or one more simple example, Sri Ramakrishna gives is that in the olden days, of course, when we put a fire, fuel like wood, and you put a pot and you pour a water in that and some vegetables you have put. Then slowly at some boiling point, what happens? The vegetables are coming above and upside down, from below to above to below. It is happening. Why? Because of heat. If the vegetables thinks, oh, see, we are dancing of ourselves, it is foolishness. It is not doing for of itself. It is because the fire is there. The moment you remove the fire, then all the vegetables goes and settles. So similarly, the fire which from the fuel which is getting is what? The self, and the vegetables are dancing in the pot, cooking pot. It is nothing but the mind. How it is happening? Just like their fire, it is by self. We have to understand. So that's what the author is trying to tell. You feel mind is active, you feel intelligent is active, or a illuminator, that is a knower, but it is not so. Because of self, the mind is able to understand, a mind is able to function. Because of self, the intelligence is able to work. Because of self, ego is able to work. Because of self, even the smriti, memory is able to work. Without self, none of them are able to work. There's a beautiful story which comes in, I think, Kenopanishad. Once there was a conflict, or once there was a war between the five senses. The eye sense said, look, I am the very important among all of you. Why? Because we see so many things. I see most of the knowledge I give to the body or to the individual because of me only. So I am important. Then the ear said, no, 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 it is not, none of that. It is because of me. If I don't hear properly people, communication problem, then so many other problems come. Then the tongue says that, man or woman or human being or being is the servant of me because of the taste or because of the tongue. If I utter a one word, you will get a slap. Or taste buds are so, dormant. It is so strong. People are always obsessed with eating and whatnot. Then they say skin. Oh, no, no, it is very important. If because of my covering only you are looking so beautiful, otherwise no. So I'm very important. Then on the other side, say, look, if I don't take the inhaling, breathing, then you will die or whatever. So I am important. So like that, there was a conflict or a war between all the five organs. Then the prana, it started moving out. Immediately, all the five sense organs started feeling difficulty. They're becoming weak. They're becoming numb. They're becoming, what you say, inactive because of no prana. Prana is energy, fuel. Then they said, hey, where are you going? Why are you going? All of a sudden. Then the prana said, Are, because of my existence, all you people are there. If I go, whether you are there or you are not there, it doesn't make any sense. And you are simply struggling and you are constantly fighting each other that I am great, I am great. I am actually, because of my existence, you people are there. Otherwise, your existence it is not at all there. Because I am there, you are there. If I am not there, you will not be there. Then All the five senses came into understanding, and they came to know that yes, you are right. Because of prana, all the five senses can work. Without the prana, the five senses cannot work. Immediate. So similarly, because of self only, all these things are active, or they're able to work. Otherwise, it is not able. Say for an example, you were saying there's a beautiful light, and before switching off the light, the bulb was, there was no light in that at all. The moment when I switch, then electricity passed in the filament or whatever, then brightness started. If the bulb started feeling that, oh, that because of me, the whole world is getting illumined, the electricity says it is because of me. So electricity, because of electricity is getting everything. So on the bulb is only the, medium. Of course, medium also is required, no doubt. So it is a medium, but the energy or the fuel or the brightness is because of electricity. It is not of the bulb. So similarly, when the mind, intellect, our senses are working, they are with full of life, they are with full of vibrancy, they are luminous, they are the knowers really, because all the knowledge we get through them, if you feel so. The Vedanta says no, because of self it is happening, all these things. Without self, all these things, even if it exists, it is of no use. That is what the author is trying to tell. Because of ignorance only, we think that the mind is the doer, or I am the doer, I am the enjoyer. Mind is thinking, intelligence is taking decisions, and ego, sense of ego, all these things are there. They are all instruments, but behind that, the self is the behind all these things. So in the verse 5, till verse 5, the author concluded the composition of the individual actually. Now, from the 6th to 12th verse, he talks about the mechanism behind the arrival of these three seers. Seer 1, seer 2, seer 3, we know, no? Now, how these three seers exist and what is the mechanism, what is the rationale behind it to come into conclusion has been discussed from the verse 6 to 12. How are they formed? Seer 1, seer 2, seer 3. How are they formed? And how do these three seers originate? What are their functions? What are their roles? What are their activities? So these five questions has been answered in verse number 6 to verse number 12. So already we know that the Sakshi or the witness or the Chaitanya or consciousness is the never formed. It is because it is ever present. It is self-luminous. So it illumines the mind. It always illumines the mind. And not only it illumines the mind, it illumines everything. Whatever is there in and around, the self illumines in and around everything. That is what the author tries to explain or tries to argue. Now, with respect to seer 2, mind is the seer, sense objects are the seen. Now, how the mind can be the seer? The question should come now. How the mind can is the knower? Because through mind only we are getting all the knowledge. How mind is can be seer? How mind can be the knower? Then the answer is been given in this particular verse. Because of the self. How just like moon is, though it is not self-luminous, it draws the light, it draws the energy from the sun, and it illumines the world. Similarly, the mind receives the energy. The mind receives the energy from the self and it works. That is what the author is trying to tell. So, with respect to sense objects, mind is the seer. With respect to the self, mind is the seen. That we know that. And also, very important point we have to understand why mind is also a one more sense organ for the Vedantins. Five sense organs of knowledge, five sense organs of action. We have got 10 indriyas, and the 11th indriya, 11th sense organ is what mind. So mind is also made up of subtle matter, sattva guna element, sattva element of the sattva guna of the five elements, panchabhutas, ether, air, water, fire, and the earth. These are the five elements. Among these five elements, three gunas are there: sattva, rajas, and tamas. And sattva guna of these five elements constitutes the mind. So mind is also a subtle, it is made up of subtle substance, invisible substance, but still it is matter. So when the moment it is matter, it is inert by nature. It is subtle, it is inert, and it is invisible. So if so, then how the mind can become the seer? Actually, it is not so. Then the question may come for you, Are Swamiji, you yourself said in the seer number two, mind is the seer, and yourself you are raising the question. That means probably you didn't understand Vedanta properly. Better, Swamiji, you should understand Vedanta. Then you should come and give a talk for us. So these all these things, comparisons, we are only given by author or we are trying to tell to reach the self. So this is called the art of teaching, which has been every philosophy, every school of philosophy has got different type of art of teaching. The Advaita Vedanta's art of teaching is through known you reach the unknown, and for that they use the technique called adhyaropa apavada, superimposition and desuperimposition. So just like moon borrows the light from the sun and it illumines the world, the mind is borrowing the light from the self, and it has become the knower. And reflected consciousness, I already told that reflected consciousness, here he is using the word called Chaya Pravesha. In this particular verse, he has used the word called Chaya Pravesha. Chaya Pravesha means it is what? Reflected consciousness. If you study Advaita Vedanta commentaries and sub-commentaries, glossary and all there, Pratibhimbavada and all these things you come into picture, you will understand. So it is called Pratibhimba Chaitanya or Abhasa Chaitanya. So it is a technical word, only I'm mentioning the things. So when we deeply study, only we will go to all these details. I will not go. It is called Pratibhimba Chaitanya or Abhasa Chaitanya. I will tell in a simple way, what does it mean? When the consciousness is fallen upon the mind, when the consciousness falls upon the mind, there's a reflect, then the mind is illumined. So that is called reflected consciousness. It becomes known. Mind becomes known for the self, and mind becomes the knower with respect to the sense objects or the sense organs. That is what the reflected consciousness, that is called Chaya Pravesha. Just like the sun's light fell on the moon and moon got illumined. Isn't what? That's what reflected consciousness. So when consciousness is reflected upon the mind, two things happen actually. What happens? Mind shines. Mind gets illumined. So mind is experienced. When self's light falls upon the mind, what happens? The mind gets illumined. Then what happens? The self is able to know the mind. So the self is the seer and the mind is the seen. And the second is, because now the mind has got illumined, the mind is the seer and the sense objects became the seen. The mind is the knower, the sense objects are the sense organs are the known. The mind is the experiencer, the sense objects and the sense organs or the world is the experienced. Because of the reflected consciousness in the mind, it becomes sentient. So the sentiency belongs to the self, not belong to the mind. Just like the light, the light belongs to moon, though we say moonlight, but really it belongs to the sun because it has got borrowed consciousness. It has borrowed light. So the mind has borrowed the consciousness or the light from the self, otherwise it is insentient. So basically it is for sake of understanding and analysis, he makes the mind into, based on the function, two things. One is ahankruti, the second is antakarana. What does it mean? Ahankruti means egoity. It is a mental substance. Ahamkruti, egoity. I will explain. And antakarana means thoughts or vrittis. Now, just I'll give an example, then you'll be able to understand. There's a beautiful lake. You went and you were explaining and you were enjoying the lake. Suddenly, you or someone you throw a pebble. Then what happens? The pebble, it produced one wave. That one wave produced one more wave, one more. So n number of waves are produced. The water is there in the lake. In the lake, there is a water, and above the water surface, there are waves. Now, the water is considered ahankruti according to the author, and the waves are nothing but the antakarana. So, the water is nothing but the ahankruti or the egoity, and the antakarana, the thoughts or vrittis are nothing but the waves on the surface of the water. So when the mind perceives an object, what happens? The substantial part of the mind is inside the body, no doubt. But the self, through the mind, it enters and it takes the form of the object. And it knows and it brings back the light through it brings back the data through sense organs to the mind. Mind receives, analyzes, and it gives the information to the self that this is what, this is a pen, this is a computer, or this is a cake, or this is a chocolate. This is what the Vedantic concept of perception. So whatever is there in the mind, in the body, that is what ahankruti, and whatever it goes in the form of thought or vrittis, it is called antakarna. This is a very technical thing he has made, only to based on the functional part. The mind, he has told that the substance mind is called ahankruti, and whatever the functional aspect is called the chitta, vrittis, that is called thoughts, or that is what called antakarna according to you. But if you see any prakarana granthas, what is antakarna means, it depends on based on the four things: mana, chitta, buddhi, ahankara. Mind, intelligence, ego, and the memory. All these four puts together antakarna. But here antakarna has got a different meaning. So here only we have to understand. Every book, every author, sometimes they differ from particular meanings with a particular word. So that's where we have to understand things properly. Probably sometimes or many times we need guru here. And this beautiful idea, the same idea has been told in the Dakshinamurti Stotra very beautifully in the verse number 4. How a pot has made separate so many holes, and inside the pot the light has been kept. What happens? The light oozes out. The light oozes out, and it what you say, it lightens, or if some objects are kept next to that pot, then that, because of the light, we'll be able to see or perceive that object. So similarly, if the picture is nothing but the mind, the light is nothing but the self's light has been oozed out from this mind, and will just like there for that from the holes, whatever the light came, and we are able to see the objects from the mind, whatever the self has been ejected out, through that we'll be able to understand the knowledge, or will be able to experience the world or whatnot. Now he explained about mind, how it happens, but I have got a sense of feeling. I have done this, I did this, I didn't do this, I have the sense of ego feeling, which Sri Ramakrishna says unripened ego. That is very strong in us. What about that? Because of this ego, many wars can happen, has happened. Because of this ego, I enjoy and I suffer. Because of this ego, many things can happen, many things cannot happen. What is this ego then? How can you say only self is sentient and ego is insentient? It is not vibrant, it is insentient, it is inert. And you are saying, Swami, but we at every step, we experience of this ego. What it is, how it is, if you ask, that has been explained in the 7th verse. So probably in the 6th verse, it was technical. I took some more time. In the 7th and 8th verse, in the next class, we will try to discuss, and we'll try to understand what is ego and how this ego works, and whether really it has got a self-existence, independent existence, or it has got a borrowed existence from the self. We shall try to understand. Now, this question will come for you, or for us, or for me, or for any one of us. By knowing all these things, what happens? Swami, you are a monk, you don't have any other work other than this, you have to study and you have to teach, fine. But we are householders, or we have got a lot of responsibilities. So, what happens for us by studying all these things? This question can come, may come, or it should come. Yes, definitely. By knowing all these things, I'll be able to understand who am I? What is my real nature? So I may face adverse circumstances. I may have to face a lot of problems, a lot of challenges, praise and blame, favorable and unfavorable situations, all this hustle bustle of life. And we are tossing between these dualities in this world, in this dual world. We are tossing between the dualities constantly, isn't it? Sometimes we feel tired, sometimes we feel out of helplessness, we bear it, and sometimes we cannot bear and we will have suicidal tendencies. Some they end their life because of that. So all these things, you need a strength, physical strength, mental strength, spiritual strength. Spiritual strength is the highest strength. When you study Advaita Vedanta, when this knowledge gets clear, at least intellectually, when you get clear, what happens? It gives lot of confidence for you to face your life, to go further in your life, to go forward in your life. And also, according to me, Advaita Vedanta can be one of the, as a byproduct, can be one of the good shock observer to observe the shocks which you are experiencing in the life. Say, for an example, Now I've got a lot of pain, lot of stress, lot of strain. What to do? If you ask me, what do you do, so Swami? I say, either I start doing japam or I start reading Advaita Vedanta books. By the problem gets solved. Problem gets solved or not, I do not know. But at least I will be at peace. So, I mean, this is not the purpose of Advaita Vedanta, no doubt. But as a corollary, I'm saying by studying such scriptural text, what happens? It acts as a shock absorber. Many times we need these things. Such a simple thoughts, for example, in Bhagavad Gita, Matras Parshasta Kaunteya, Shitoshna Sukha Dukkadaha, Agama Paino Nitya Tantitikshasva Bharata. When the senses come into contact with sense objects, the dualities like cold and heat, praise and blame, good and bad, all these things bound to come. It is bound to come, but agama apayinaha, it comes and it goes. Anitya, it is temporary. Tanti dikshasva, so simply forbear. So, how to face difficulties, how to accept difficulties, or how to get away from these difficulties? Many people keep on asking, isn't it? Sometimes because of disease, sometimes because of death, because of problems in the life, and because of loss, or professional problems. All these things we have to struggle, we have to face all these things. When you study scriptures, when you study Advaita Vedanta, especially non dualistic philosophy, you'll be able to face all these struggles. Yes, these are bound to come and bound to go. I think today only one devotee was asking, Swami, how can I prepare my mind so that I can face difficulties? Then I said, there's a Buddha statement, let go things. Oh, Swami, it is easy to say, probably it may be easy for you, but it is not easy for me, Swami. He said, yes, but still it is possible. How can we let go things? By understanding this. Krishna himself has said, good and bad, right and wrong, happiness and unhappiness are bound to come and bound to go. Accept it, but you try to solve it, you try to overcome it, you try to do things better, no doubt. You have to do all these things, but you should not get perturbed. Oh, because it is coming and going. Swami said, scriptures have said, so no, I should not keep quiet. No, I don't mean that. You have to try to solve the problem, you have to try to face it, you try to solve them, but you don't get perturbed. We should not get perturbed. So without getting perturbed, solving these problems is very important. Krishna is a god, but he born in jail or a prison, and for 12 years, 12 or 14 years, he didn't see his biological parents. Rama, for 1 year, almost 11 months, he didn't see his wife during the forest or exile. So, like Vivekananda, according to me, if you study Swami Vivekananda's life, the moment when his father passed away, till Swami Vivekananda's passing away, leaving his mortal coil, he never had a single day comfortable life, according to me. But he was peaceful. Why? Because their level, of course, their mind was in different level or in different realm. This is what the capacity and the uniqueness of the spirituality or the spiritual strength. The more and more we develop the spiritual strength by study, by Japan meditation, by satsangs, by holy companies, what happens? We'll be able to observe the difficulties and will not be perturbed by all these problems with these dualities. We will try to solve the problems. We'll try to face the problems, but will not get perturbed and will keep going further. We'll be marching forward. That's why we are asked to study Advaita Vedanta. So why you should, on the lighter side, don't take it seriously. Why should you study? Why should you attend my Drishya Viveka class? Because to understand all these things. Thank you. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Rama Krishna Arpanamastu.